We're here today showing off a 64-player playtest of Battlefield 4. We're showing it live here on the floor, which is very important for us. It's live software, so people can come in and play it. We did get some feedback from the press conference that people thought that it wasn't live, but yes, it was live.
Oh,
there
no,
as
it
well.
was.
It was really live, and actually me on stage with the Commander on tablet, that was also live.
That's a gutsy move. You're taking a chance there. I mean, especially in these early stages. When the fact is, whenever you brought out the tablet, I saw that. This is the first time. We'll go down this avenue already. And we're talking about the commander mode that we're going to see. We saw it in BF2. It's a little bit different in Battlefield 4. Let's kind of dive into it a little bit more. Tell me about, we're seeing here with the multiplayer, it's 32 versus 32. Does the commander take up one of those spots or no?
No, that was one of the things that we wanted to change. So you actually have a 64-player match ongoing, but the two commanders are two additional slots outside of that. So one of the big differences in commander mode compared to BF2 is that the commander does not have a physical presence on the battlefield.
So a physical presence, you mean that there's no capability of actually destroying them on the map?
No, you cannot find him and knife in the back. It was one of the things that were very frustrating for the commanders in BF2. You have to run somewhere and hide in the grass or somebody, and then usually the spec ops guy come and find them and just knife them. So now what we want to do with commander mode is to enhance the team play that we have, of course. So we want to get that eye in the sky kind of guy that can help turn the tide of the battle with both the information, the information warfare, what's going on, and then relay that to the squads that you have on the battlefield. But also taking direct action with vehicle drops or dropping in the offensive capabilities of missiles, etc. And one of the big changes this time around as well is that those different assets that the commander has available are tied to different points on the map. Not all of them, but several of them. So, for instance, if you capture point B here on this map, Siege of Shanghai, that's when the commander actually get the Tomahawk. The Tomahawk coming in, for instance.
I'm looking, and it's one of the things that I'm definitely going to look forward to seeing, the fact that you can take over. I think it's B, C, and D, and they all give you different variations of offensive attacks that the commander has. So what we saw there during the press conference was the usage of a tablet. Is it just as easy whenever you hop onto a PC? Is it it's pretty much identical, other than the fact that you have a touch interface opposed to a keyboard and mouse?
Yeah, it's pretty similar. You have some, on the PC you will have a bit more information. You can get live feeds for your squad, etc. You won't get that on the tablet as it is now, at least, because of bandwidth, etc. But it will be very, very similar. So I expect that a lot of people can just sit on the bus and actually take part of this as well. Play with an actual ongoing server, etc. But I also see that we probably get players playing even more tactical, where perhaps they get together, they're sitting together, and they actually have the commander behind them playing as well, to get even more of the information flowing.
So you're bringing up a pretty interesting point whenever you talk about someone having a tablet, walking behind their team. Say we have a 5 versus 5 gaming going on, kind of a squad battle. They sit there and pull out the tablet and walking back and forth as a coach role. If you don't know, I come from a esports or a competitive gaming scene. And that's one of the things that you brought that to my attention. My ears perked up, and I was ready to listen to some more. So some of the other things that the commander has to offer that we'll talk about throughout this week here at E3 is the fact that it has offensive attacks, also has your UAV scans, your ability to get intel, and then also to be able to get any drops that are happening there. So that's pretty much all the different things that you see from the commander mode. We'll definitely dive into deep with all the different elements. But something that's really great that I also noticed during the press conference was the Levolution and all the different things. I mean, so a lot of people at home already right now think that Levolution is that big skyscraper coming down. You're going to get the chance to see it again. Don't worry, it's going to happen time and time again. Probably going to be the first thing that happens. And we'll go into detail exactly what happens during that moment. But get into detail for me. What really is Levolution? Because there's a lot more to it than just a building falling down.
Yeah, it is. I mean, Levolution to us, it's a concept. It's not one feature. It's a concept of what's going on. And the concept surrounds the dynamic battlefield. And destruction is part of that, definitely, on all levels. The micro destruction ranging up to the big destruction, and even up to the skyscraper, yes. But Levolution is so much more. It's about the dynamic battlefield and how it changes. Anything from that you now can use elevators, to that you can raise bollards out of the ground when you press a button, to how you can just change what's going on. So there's a lot of things happening in the concept of Levolution, and we believe that some of these things are easier to communicate when you see it, like a skyscraper coming down.
You'll see it.
Some of it you probably have to play to get the feel for what's actually happening on the battlefield, but it's definitely something that surrounds everything in the multiplayer nowadays.
I think it's one of the great things. I mean, you brought up to the attention is the bollards. They're for those of you who are not really formally get the fact of you got to pull out your dictionary to find out what bollard is. You'll get the chance to see it. They're actually, I took a picture of it here in LA. They're bollards that are blocking for E3, so they're blocking the streets.
Yep.
So I kind of got a Battlefield 4 taste whenever I was strolling through LA. But you'll see it. You'll get the chance to see in game. There's a red and a green side. The green side, it actually retracts back into the ground and allows any type of vehicles to be able to pass back through. The red side, no tanks can go through that. So we'll see that in the multiplayer throughout this week. And also some of the other great things, you'll see fire extinguishers giving a smoke screen temporarily. So these are all different types of elements that we'll see in Levolution. I'm looking forward to some great stuff.
I mean, a lot of it has to do as well with player presence. So, for instance, when you're going into a building, if you run through the perhaps the metal detector there, it might go off.
Ooh.
So things like that can actually, you have to think when you move on the battlefield, because that alerts the presence, your presence, to the people surrounding it.
You brought up a really, really good point that I think a lot of gamers kind of overlook at times. I mean, audio is so superior out there, and one of the things that I know you're right here with me, I got to give you some praise. You give your team some praise, especially with Frostbite 3 engine coming out here and making a pretty big presence with Battlefield 4. But the audio, the high fidelity of the audio is unreal in Battlefield 3. How does it come out in Battlefield 4? Is it even better?
Well, I mean, we have that as an ongoing focus, and the audio team we have back home is probably the best in the world. At least I would say that.
It came from me, I'll say it.
And they are really spending a lot of time with attention to details for everything. Just, from how does it feel when you fire the gun, to the environments, to these kind of things, like how does it you communicate through sound indirectly, I would say, just by hearing what's going on the battlefield. And this is really, really important. So people should expect that the sound will take another leap forward now with Battlefield 4, of course.
Those are just the great elements to look at. I mean, you're looking at all, how it looks visually, how does the audio sound. I mean, you're getting directional information coming from the game. So one of the last things that I kind of want to dive into, we saw the little video clips there on youtube.com/Battlefield. We saw the helicopter blade spinning for those 4 seconds. We had the chance to see the tank rolling, but then we saw some sea battles. The thing from Battlefield 3, I'm going to be honest with you, I think the community kind of agrees with me a little bit. Whenever I'm strolling around in a boat, I feel completely vulnerable out there in the open. I mean, it doesn't matter if there's a tank shooting at me. Even a sniper in the distance can pick me off. I've got no way to defend myself. How does that change in Battlefield 4?
Well, the amphibious assault that we now have in the game as well, you will see different vehicles. I mean, we have like the jet ski, for instance, which is very fast, but you have to move very quickly because you have no offensive capabilities. But then you have other, like the patrol boats, for instance. These are more, you have some offensive capabilities with the cannon they have mounted on it. I even believe that you have some TOWs, guided missiles on them, etc. So you can do some damage there, definitely. So it depends on how you use them and what kind of vehicles you choose, of course.
I think one of the great things, I've already had the chance to play a little bit. You can be a little bit jealous out there, but you're going to get the chance to see some great gameplay throughout the whole week with multiplayer. 32 versus 32. We're going all out. We have 2 commanders, one for both teams. So again, like what you mentioned, the fact that these amphibious vehicles, they have the ability to eject out with a jet ski. One of the other cool things too is watching what you can do as just an infantryman in the sea as well. You can dive down deep into the water. You can sprint in the water, or however you want to say that. You can swim faster.
We call it sprint swim.
It's sprint swim. So there we go. All right, the technical term right there. So I think that covers for a great bit of it. I mean, is there any other input that you want to bring out there? No,
well, you just touch upon the infantry experience. We have done quite a bit there. You mentioned the swimming, the sprint swim as well, but we have some other things as well. Like we've changed the suppress system. We got a lot of feedback on suppress.
Detail now.
Yeah, details. But for instance, so suppress is now something that is more focused on the support class with the LMGs, etc. Which I think is what a lot of people out there really wanted to see. It's not so present in the actual close quarter combat. It's more on the range combat. Things like you also have, if you're behind cover and you go scoped, you will actually have an automatic lean over feature. So if you're sitting in cover and you go in scope, then your character will go like whoop and look up.
That's greatness.
So yeah, and these things will, hopefully people will like them. Otherwise, we have to do something about it, of course. But there's a lot of things changing there as well.
All right, so I've got one last thing to bring up. I mean, you were talking about the infantry. This is probably one of the coolest features that I think that was added into Battlefield 4.
I know what you're going to say.
You go ahead and take it away. I don't. This is your prestige moment to talk about it.
It's got to be the counter melee, right?
The counter melee?
Yeah.
Oh, that's one of them.
Okay.
I've got my big thing is I love the scopes.
Yeah.
I love the optical there in Battlefield and being able to sit there and just have a great view. But one of the things is my FOV, my field of view is completely messed up whenever I have any close quarter combat. And so going canted, that's something else.
Yeah, that's going to be good. I think that's going to add a lot of combinations that people can use their guns. You know, you can add the what do you call it, the zoom just on the top of your ordinary sight, and then have the canted as well. So there's a lot of opportunity for people to just customize their through the gun experience, that we like to call it.
So go into detail about some of the countermeasures that you can go whenever there's any type of melee combat.
Well, I mean, we have thought about the whole melee, and just grabbing people's dog tags is something that was very, very popular in BF3. But we also thought that we need to do something so you actually can counter it as well, if you are, you know, really aware of what's going on the battlefield. So if you are really fast now and you see the opponent coming at you, you can actually counter the melee attack coming at you.
All right, so I'm going to have to get in detail with this. You can let me know if I'm going too far or anything. But so if there's a frontal attack that happens, then you can defend against it. But what happens if someone's right behind you and they're coming in for your dog tags?
Well, currently the design is that you can't counter that. So that's the current design that we have now. But I mean, we're not done with the game. We're still in play testing, etc. So we have to wait and see how this plays out and how people like to play with it.
So I know a lot of people already realize that if you're a part of the Battlefield community, you know that that this team is listening to everything that you have to say. I mean, make sure you check out the Facebook page. They're listening, I promise. Everyone out there is just here at Battlefield. They're doing a great job of hearing every bit of your input, every bit of your feedback. And I mean, the fact that you're talking about suppression, I didn't even have to bring up suppression. Karl Magnus brought that up for us. I mean, that right there just shows that you are listening to the community out there.
Yeah, we try our best. I mean, the community now is so big, which we're extremely grateful for, and they are very dedicated as well. So some people say that we're not listening, but yes, we are listening, but we can't answer everything. So if people just keep talking, and please talk as creative and constructive as you can, because there can be a lot of noise out there as well, but we are listening as much as we can. It actually goes through what DICE is. You know, we are, a game developer, but we are extremely passionate about playing games ourselves. I mean, that's where Battlefield came from a long time ago by the founders of DICE, that they wanted to build a game that they wanted to play themselves. And it still is. I mean, I still play a lot of the games, and everyone that works in the studio plays a lot of the Battlefield games, even, after the game has been released. And it's something we're very passionate about.
All right, so I'm going to keep you around here a little bit longer because I just thought of one huge element that I don't know why I forgot it, but the spectating mode. Let's kind of talk a little bit. We'll scratch the surface. I know it's all in pre-alpha version. I mean, we're still going through the process. But some of the elements that I've already seen, when we see the tabletop, the first-person view, the third-person view, and even the ability to go for free cam, what are some other things that we're going to be able to look forward to? I mean, of course, I mean, the crowd out there guessed it. The community guessed it. I mean, once you started to mention that there was going to be some online multiplayer shown, they immediately was realized, well, they have to be showing some type of spectator mode. Can you get into detail a little bit about it?
Well, it's still early days for the spectator mode, but I mean, actually, this show, E3, is probably one of the first real big tests of it. So we're going to look for a lot of feedback, how people like to use it, don't like to use it, etc. Currently, we have our first implementation of it, but this is one of the first features that we, loud and clear heard from the community, especially the competitive community, that we need in the game if they're going to be able to use it and just broadcast what's going on in the game. So I think people should take a look at what we have now and give us feedback as much as possible. We're, of course, going to collect what we feel after this event as well, but hopefully people will like it.
I appreciate it, Karl. I mean, it's been a pleasure talking with you. I mean, we heard the fact that you're talking about having the tablet walking behind your 5 players whenever they're in-game, communicating with them. We also heard about the spectator mode. I mean, you can tell that Battlefield is really trying to help and lean towards moving forward in the competitive scene.
It is important for us, and I know some people in the community say they don't trust that we are going to deliver some kind of a competitive support, etc. But we are dedicated to this. We want to give the players the support to play this game competitively. I mean, that's for one of the reasons why we now have 5-man squads instead of 4. That is because we want to be able to allow the usually the 5-man teams that are out there to play together as a squad. That's another change that we made specifically to help support competitive play.
I appreciate it, Karl. It's been a pleasure speaking with you.
Yep.
And we'll look forward to seeing you throughout the event, just talking with you, kind of picking your brain on all the different things that are happening within the Battlefield scene. It's a pleasure having you on here. Of course, for those of you that are watching, make sure you share it out there, hashtag BF3 or hashtag BF4. Wow, there's a lot of great things out there. So make sure you share it out there, talk to everyone, get this thing going out there. It was a pleasure, Karl. And we'll be back after the break with some multiplayer action. We'll get my good friend Alex Mendez to hop on here to shoutcast some games. We'll be back after the break.
Thank you.